So if you're invested in the drip garden, the drip/BUSD LP token garden on the animal farm, part of the drip ecosystem, should you be compounding every single plant, or would it be better overall to just wait until the evening, compound once a day? So we're going to examine that a little bit and analyze it from, I think, an angle that a lot of people do not. Likely, most people in the Telegram groups or any of the Discords, the chats that you're in, will say they compound once a day. And that makes a lot of sense from the angle of convenience. If you have a high number of plants, if you're making 100 plants a day, you're making even 30 plants a day, obviously compounding every single plant is not only inconvenient, but you are adding up gas fees. Now, the gas fees are not very high, I should say, to compound the plants. So far for me, it's been about 10 cents, 13 cents, somewhere in there. But obviously, if you're compounding, I don't know, 10, 15 times a day, even though we expect to make a good bit from this when these LP prices go back up and when this all kind of evens out after the piggy bank launch, things like that, you still may not want to be just frittering away an extra dollar or two a day for no reason, if there is no reason, and if it doesn't make much of a difference. So I think it's a very personal strategy, of course, depending on how many plants you have, and how much gas fees you're willing to part with a day to achieve your goals, and if you want to get there faster. Now, as far as if it makes a difference, it absolutely makes a difference, and I'll tell you why. I have my schedule here up on the right. These were just some numbers I was playing with, but this is a really good visual representation as to why this matters. So if you're aware of some of the math, every plant that you have planted, so we're visualizing this with the theme of drip garden. If you plant a plant or you buy it, it's in the ground, it's dropping seeds. Each one produces 86.4 thousand seeds a day. So 86,400 seeds per plant per day. So if you have plants waiting and ready in your available balance, they're ready to be sown, like I have one sitting here right now. I may have missed the window, which is why I will let it sit and roll over to the next. But with it sitting there, if I wait until that evening to plant it, I have now missed. Like let's just assume that plant was ready at the beginning of the day, and I let all 7 of my plants wherever I'm at, because I'm around here, or no, I'm at 221. So if I let all 7.36 of my plants sit until the evening and plant them, I've now missed 86,400 times however many plants that is. So we could actually do that real quick here as a formula. 86,400 times whatever the number of plants are, and we should really be rounding that down. So this is the number of seeds. We should really round it down to the whole number because you can't plant more than that. But this is about the number of seeds that we would be missing by the end of the day. And again, also not an accurate representation because you wouldn't have 7 ready. So let's say that we don't touch them during the day, and we maybe we plant in the morning for some odd reason, or if we want to view it that way. The point is that for every amount of time that a plant is available and sitting there, you are losing seeds. I mean, if it's a day, it's 86.4 thousand. But if you're planting, say you plant at noon, well, you've saved half of those seeds. Yeah, that's a good way to look at this. Probably is like, let's say we're at this point where we have 8. If I wait until the evening and plant 8. Well, if I had done it at the halfway point, like around noon or 1, whenever the first 4 were ready, I could have had 4 times 86.4 thousand, and then divide that in half because I would only have half a day worth of seed production. So yes, I by harvesting or by planting twice a day, I am getting more seeds, which means I am speeding up this whole process. And this doesn't become daily. This becomes really, it depends on like how many times you're planting. It'd be 1.5 and then 2 and then 2.5 and then 3. And if you're planting multiple times a day, maybe it's actually each row would be something like 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, depending on whatever portion of the day it is. And so of course that's going to speed this up because it's another level of compounding. I've planted plants sooner that would have been sitting there dropping seed, or that could have been sitting there dropping seeds in the ground. If I plant those sooner, they'll be producing seeds. And if I let them sit there all day, stack all the way up to 8, and then plant them, then I've lost a good number of seeds. I could have made almost a whole nother plant or something in some of these cases, and especially when we get down here. When we get down here and you're making 100 plants a day, well, at the midway point at least of the day, you could have planted 50. Well, what's 50 times 86,000? That's how many seeds you're missing. And how many more plants is that you could have planted? So this compounding is actually even faster. And that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to outpace the decay. We're not worried about the LP value. It'll go back up, I hope. If once drip levels out and goes back up, this will come back up. But we have to outpace this decay. As this drops, we're going to see these numbers it won't be 93. Maybe this point in time will actually be like 85. Who knows? With that decay by the time I reach there. We don't know. But if we're compounding and we want to compound quicker and get more plants sooner than other people in the garden relatively, that's the whole name of the game. We do want to plant. We want to plant more often. So especially when you have a small amount of plants, when you have, it's kind of hard to keep up with the decay right now with the LP price as well. Everything's lower. If you only have 5, 10, 15, 20 plants, I'm not saying don't jump in with that amount. I still think you can catch up and get there with compounding. It's just going to take you longer. But if you have a smaller amount of plants and you're already invested, especially if you're already invested, you're already in the system, you're not getting that investment back out. There's not some way to just pull that out. You have to get to a good point to where you can pull out a couple days here and there of a larger amount to get your ROI back. So if you have a small amount, 100%, I would recommend. I can't tell you what to do with your money. I'm not a financial advisor. You invest how you want. You do the strategy how you feel it should be done. But I would 100% recommend, if I was telling my friend, my relatives, anybody, if you have a small amount, small bag, I would be planting every single plant. I'd plant every single plant because that's what's going to get you ahead quicker. Now, I understand when you're making 300 plants a day. When you're making 300 plants a day, you're not going to plant every single plant. The gas prices are ridiculous. It's happening too fast to sit there and monitor it all day. You wouldn't have a life. That makes no sense. But the point I am making here is that it is a difference. So there is a difference between waiting until the end of the day to plant versus compounding at the halfway point or 2 times a day. So the only thing you have to weigh is how much gas you want to put into that. But it does make a difference in the long run. And I think you could do the math on that yourself pretty easily, pretty quickly. I was having a hard time here trying to figure that out, how I wanted to display this with 1.3, 1.6 of a day. It'd probably be easy enough to show just like half increments, 1.5 to 2.5. But yeah, just think about that. Do the basic math. When a plant's sitting there, it's not generating any seeds, but once it is planted, it does. So that alone should tell us it will get us where we want to be quicker the more often we plant. It's just weighing those gas fees. Do we want to pay those that many times a day? Is it worth it to get to where we're going to be quicker? That might be something you kind of add up. Like, let's say it costs $1. If it's costing $1 in gas fees, that's how many times I'm compounding a day. If I compounded 10 times a day, which we really wouldn't be there until we were at probably over 10 plants, so somewhere around here. If I were to do 10 compounds a day, one per plant, I'm adding $1 essentially each day here. So you'd really have to see if that's worth it to you. That's $1, $2, $3, $4. You know, and if I'm only and if I'm not harvesting at that point yet either, let me do kind of a quick kind of experimenting here while I'm right in front of you. So let's say I'm doing 10 harvests or 10 compounds a day. Even on these later days, I'm letting them stack up to like 2 or 3, and I'm doing 10 compounds a day at 10 cents a piece. What's my count there? I'm at $30. So it might be worth, if you're logging this really religiously, really studiously, it might be worth it to log your gas fees, convert that B&B back to dollar amounts, or just keep track of the B&B, and think about adding that to your investment. You know, that might be a smart way to look at it, because then you're not only looking at your ROI, but how much did I put in with gas fees? Because that's what we want to get back. You know, and then just you'd have that in mind that let's say this was a harvest day and I had 121. Well, I know the last 32 days I paid 32 in gas, and so I might want to kind of look at that differently and say, oh, I'm not getting 121. You know, 32 of that is actually gas fees that I paid. So just something to keep in mind if you want to be very exact with how much you're making. But to make that point, yes, it does make a difference if you compound multiple times a day. It will get you there faster because that's just how compounding works. The sooner I can compound even a penny, if I'm getting a percent off it, if I'm dropping seeds, if I'm making sellable assets, which are my seeds, and those seeds can also be compounded themselves, 100%. It makes a difference if you compound 10 times a day, 15 times a day, 20 times a day, versus once at the end of the day. But again, if you're using those schedulers and you see your daily amount is going up, and it's going up at a pace that is comfortable for you, and you're getting towards your goal at your pace, and you only want to pay 10 cents a day in gas, and that's how your strategy works, and everything's going good for you, and you're making more and more each day, then you know, ignore me. It doesn't matter. I mean, that's convenient. You check in at night and you harvest or compound, and you do it that one time a day. That may be the strategy that works for you. So it's very personal. You got to weigh that out, weigh the pros and cons. I'm harvesting, if not every plant, I'm doing about every two plants, just because I'm not catching it. I'm not monitoring it all day. And you know, I'm weighing out that gas. I don't necessarily want to pay 70 cents a day for my 7 plants, but you do you. Don't let anyone tell you that it's not going to make a difference if you compound every plant, because it will, and you will get to the point you want to get quicker or faster overall, because that's how compounding works. But still no guarantees at any of this. High risk, high reward. We're hoping this decay doesn't hit us too hard too fast, and we're hoping this goes up. I'd like to see it back at like 45 or something. It would just, you know, give us an instant boost all the way down the line. So here's hoping. We'll see after the piggy bank launches. Hope that was informative or helpful in some way. Thanks for watching. Have a great one.